Let's jump over to cell tower searches. Telecom business is booming. It happened in the early 2000s. It was a big increase in cell capacity. In the mid 2000s, it slacked off a little bit. Now with all these smartphones and the higher data usage, it's blown up. They're wanting to increase capacity left and right, and they have been for about 18 to 24 months. There's a lot of projects out there. They're hard searches. They want everything. Okay, Chrissy's going to talk more about it a little bit later. I'm going to hit on a couple things. Rule of thumb, just like I said before, know what the terms of the search are. Okay, cell tower search. No, it doesn't mean anything to me. Could mean a lot of things. Get the scope of the search from your client. Ideally, you want to get it from the horse's mouth, meaning the communications company, Sprint, Nextel, or Verizon, or whoever. You don't want to get it from the third-party broker, manager, whoever's working on this project. Because by the time it gets downstream, it's like the old telephone game. The cell tower, the communications company calls their project manager and says, "We need all this stuff. We need a cell tower search." And they have specs, and they give the specs to the manager. The manager says, "Okay, I'll just call a title searcher and just get a cell tower search." They must know what that means. And you don't get the specs directly from the Verizon or Sprint, whoever. You may not know what all they need. You send in a report, and you have a customer relations or a payment issue. So it's important to get the specs. If the manager, the project manager, or your client is not the cell phone company, and they don't want to give you the actual document from the cell phone company because they don't want to give away who their client is, you're going to steal it or whatever, ask them to redact it or copy it directly. You want to get the actual specs. I've seen too many times a cell tower search means so many different things to different people. And they want, I shouldn't say it means different things, they want different criteria on the search. There's three basic reasons why a search is triggered. Sometimes a cell company or a management company is doing a study area. They're looking where they should put a tower. They have a big area, a tower should go here, we need more coverage on this intersection. They have a lot of possibilities where it could go. Let's take a look and see what these properties, who owns the properties, what easements go through them. Another one could be a full install. They're putting up a new monopole or a new tower or a new antenna on a building, and they need a search for that. There's also a co-location where there's an existing tower or an existing structure, and they're putting new antennas on that for another company. The searches are basically the same, but there may be differences. Understanding which one it is will help know how to quantify the search. Also, if you ask the person that is ordering the search from you, is this for a study area, a co-locate, or an install, what does that tell that person? That's right, you know the lingo of that industry, because most people don't, and I didn't. And when you're talking to them, they're just like when we talked about before the commercial property owner searchers. They're looking for an expert. They're looking for you to help them develop their project, to get their thing done. They don't need a cell tower search. They need certain information. They need this problem solved. So if you can solve that problem for them by knowing the lingo and knowing how they're going to use it, a question that I ask clients all the time that are long-term or volume clients, when we have conversations just about not making an order, look, when I send you your search, I send you your search document, what is the next thing you do with it? And what do you do with after that? What do you do with this? Do you type it into another report? Do you hand it off to underwriting department? Do you give it to an analyst? What do you do with it? Because that way, if you understand what they do with it, you can help maybe restructure how you deliver the search to them, what format it's on, what information is on it. Maybe it's better if you do have to search one day and have to search 3 days later. Maybe they want to have the first half sooner so they can start doing something. Maybe they don't. With cell tower clients, that's a good strategy. What do you do with your search? Do you just give it to your client? Do you read it? Do you reformat it? What do you do? It could be a good way to kind of develop a closer relationship and rapport with the customer as well. If you're dealing with a broker or a manager, they're not going to necessarily itemize all the parts of the search they need. And Chrissy's going to go into some of that later, but they may need to know the easements, where the guy wire is going to go. They need a lot of ingress and egress for that property. They need power going in. They need the communications wire going in to bring the phone calls in and out from that tower. They might need water. They need ingress and egress for service vehicles to do repairs. All of that's going to be part of the search, and knowing all that is important. One of the things that happens a lot, at least with me, and if anybody does cell tower searches, you can tell me if this is the same thing with you. Horrible property identification. Horrible. Where's the property? The corner of Main and Elm. Really? Are you serious? Yeah, that's what it is. Am I right? I mean, I never see anything like it. Now, it's frustrating at first, comical second, but third, what does it tell you? It tells you they don't really know that much, right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? To me, it's a good thing, because now they need you. They need you to do more stuff. If they tell me the corner of Main and Elm, I don't say, well, go tell me, figure out the address and call me back. No problem. Main and Elm, no problem. We can handle that. First thing we have to do is we have to do a property identification search. This is going to cost how much? I don't know. You figure out what it is. It's going to cost. That's right. That's exactly right. You said it better than I did. I left it open-ended. You just said it's going to cost. That's right. And how can you do that? I've done it as simple as Google Maps, Google Aerial, find the corner, then put the parcel thing on it, get the parcel number, assessor's office. How long does it take? It might take some time, but can you charge for that? Sure. Because if you don't, they're going to have to. And when they do that, in the meantime, there's so many opportunities they're going to end up calling somebody else besides you. And they really want you to do it anyways, because they don't want to deal with that. If they want to deal with it, they would have done it. The two examples I put on here are excellent examples. I had the description of Andover Farm in so-and-so, Massachusetts. Andover Farm, really? How many Andover farms are there in Massachusetts, right? Well, I don't know. I think it's in Middlesex County. So that was one. The other one was in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Yeah, we need to search for Trump Casino. Okay. Even when we found Trump Casino as, okay, here's the structure. You know how many legal parcels there really were for Trump Casino? It looks like one place. There was 26 legal parcels. It was a 3/4 acre lot. Parking area was one. Restaurant was another. This was another. This little ingress was another. Now, we could figure out where it's going to go because the antenna's on this structure, but do they need to search on all of them? They might, especially for a cell tower search. Some of regulations for cell tower search permitting involves how it's going to affect other properties. View. If there's a historical property nearby, sometimes it won't get approved. Now, if you see a historical property designation, you might want to point it out to the client. One thing that I can tell you is that it makes a difference if the historical property designation is for the inside of the building or the outside. If it's just a historical building because the inside has nice moldings, that's not going to affect the cell tower next door because it's just the inside. If it's a historic building because of the architecture and the structure, it was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, whatever, putting a cell tower on the house next door probably is not going to happen. Now, the other thing you want to find out is, does your client want to know that? Right? Some clients, may not want to know because they don't want any negative things. So you have to, understand what the client's looking for to begin with. But on the other hand, if they do want to know, you want to understand that designation. Is it a historical designation for the interior or exterior of the building? A lot of this, I'm sure Chris will get in more detail, but leasehold interests on the property are important. Knowing, who has interest in the property as a tenant, or even easements in and through the property is important. There is now a pretty good market for title insurance policies for cell towers. It hasn't been going on too long, but there's policies that the cell tower installers want to have. They don't want to build a $300,000 pole and everything else and then find out that they have to tear it down. So they're getting policies just like you would on a purchase. Is it possible to get the prior policy? That could help you really shorten the details of that search. If you can get that prior policy. It may not be available. You may find it, the client may have it. If it's the same client that already built the tower and they're just adding on more antennas, you may be able to get the policy. That may help you, go from there forward or whatever the case may be. The companies that do this, when they're looking at the property, like we said before with easements, they're going to need to get a good idea of where easements might be and where the property boundaries might be. Some counties The legal description or the plats are really good surveys. Sometimes it's just a block. Some areas actually, I know some property in North Georgia where the legal description says, please see recorded survey at this book and page. You've got a survey, an actual survey of that property. If there's a recorded survey, that could be something valuable to the client, to know the boundaries, property lines, power lines, everything else. If it's available, even if they don't ask for it, you may want to grab it. What's a copy cost to get a survey? Not much. When you get the search done, and by the way, would you like a copy of the survey? And guess what? That's going to cost something, just like you said. Better. You really should have. Because they're going to need it. They're going to need that stuff anyways. So that's another one. A good source for information and contact on this is a company called Steel in the Air. I put a copy of their website in the back. It's steelintheair.com, like steel up in the air. I guess it's pretty clever. They do all kind of projects for landowners wanting to lease their property for towers. They do projects for cell companies that want to put towers. They do all kinds of stuff. They're a good enterprise, good people to know about. I think they're in, I don't know where they are. I think they're in Chicago.